I want to welcome you to this video. On this video, we're going to cover lower of cost to market. And the reason why you do this is because you have inventory that has gone down in value. So market value is actually less than the cost that you may have spent for it. So we're going to check it to see if that's the case. And what we have up here is some information. This section right here is all information. And normal markup is going to be 25% of cost, which we'll need that for the floor. And then we have the units, the item we have, the units, the cost, replacement cost is given. Now net realizable value is also called the ceiling price. And what that is, that's your market price minus any reasonable selling costs that you may have. So what we'll do is we'll copy those down. That's the 1025. And we'll just simply copy those down here. Okay. Replacement costs can also be copied down. Those will be given as well. That's the cost of replacing the inventory. So we'll copy those down. Now the floor we need to calculate. It is 25% of cost is our normal markup. So what we have here then, we have our ceiling price is the market value minus the 25% times our cost of $12. And that gives us $7.25. And then what we can do is absolute value, the E2 section, and then we can copy that down and we get our cost. Okay, that's the cost that we come up with. Now what we'll want to look at here from market, the reason why I have these in yellow is because we want to find the market value. And market value has to be between the ceiling and the floor. So if the replacement cost is between those two items, then we use replacement. Otherwise, we use the one that's the closest. Okay, so for instance, the first one here is item 1 is 1025 is the ceiling, 1015 is between 725 and 1025. The next item, however, 915 is a replacement, but 895, it's above the 895, so it cannot go above the ceiling. And this one is 1075, 1475, 1450 works. Now this one here is 1250's replacement, but we can't go below the floor, so we use the 1288. And then for this one, the item 5, 2650, 2675 is above 2650, so we'd use that. Now for cost, we simply, that's literally what we do. We use the cost. So we'll take that and we copy the cost down. Okay. Now we compare market to cost. And this is an easy one, or it should be. We take the lower of the two. So 1015 is lower than 12. 895 is lower than 9. 1450 is lower. Oops. 1288 is lower, and the last one here is the 26. So that is my lower of cost to market that we'll be using. Okay, so for the valuation purposes, we'll just simply take these numbers we have up here and we will copy them down because that's my market. Okay, then what we'll do is we'll multiply. So we equal 600 times the 1015, and then we'll copy it down. I know I don't like that many dollar signs. And then we simply add these up, and 2,192.50, that's my valuation for inventory under the LIFO assumption. So what we have in here, the ceiling is your net realizable value, which is this normal selling price minus any reasonable selling expenses. Replacement cost will be given. And then the floor is the 25% markup over cost. So we take the cost times the 25% and then subtract it from the ceiling to get the floor. And then the market then is anything. My other class is always taking the middle number. That's the easy way to remember it. But ideally, replacement has to be between the ceiling and the floor. Think of how you walk or where you live at. You live between the floor and ceiling. You're not below the floor. You're not above the ceiling. So as long as replacement is between those two, we use replacement value. Otherwise, we use the ceiling or the floor, whichever one is the closest to. And then we after we get them to get market, we compare it to cost, and we take the lower of the two, and then we multiply them out. This is applied individually. Now for the FIFO method, we take the cost, which will come back up here to my original one, and we'll simply copy the cost down, just like we did before. Then for FIFO, we don't go through all that other. We just use the net realizable value numbers, which is what the 1025 is, and down further down. Okay, we use the net realizable value, and so we actually use the ceiling prices is what we do. Then we compare them. So 1025 is lower than 12. 895 is lower than 9. 1475 is lower than 16. 1725 is lower, and this one is 26. Okay, so over here then we would take the 1025. We take our lower cost of market. We bring those down, and then what we'll do is we'll multiply the 600 times the 1025, and then multiply them all the way down, and then for the bottom one we simply add them up, and that gives you the 21,207.50. And that's your value for inventory under the two methods. Now your company will pick one or the other. They'll use the FIFO cost flow assumption, or they'll use the LIFO cost flow assumption. The FIFO cost flow assumption and IFRS will give you the same results because they have the same criteria. LIFO is the one that gives you something different. LIFO is the one you compare the two, and you take the one that's in the middle. Okay, on these three items right here. Okay, that's what you want to look at. And the market then is the one that's in the middle if you want to look at it that way. Whereas for the net realizable value, the FIFO method, you use the ceiling prices, and then you compare it to cost, and you come up with your value. Okay, that is lower cost of market, and hopefully that helps a little bit.